One fateful night, over the constant, the moon rose. This wasn't surprising, the moon generally always rises every single night, even in a world as strange as the constant. However, tonight, everything was going to change, because on this night, a mysterious gem detached from the moon, letting off an immense flash of light before plummeting down into the constant. The gem eventually landed on a lush tropical island known as Hamlet. This island was a verdant wonderland teeming with life. The dense jungle was alive with creatures and plants of every shape and color. The green gem settled gently into the rich soil, and eventually over time, vines grew around the gem, enveloping it and becoming the creature known as Wormwood. Wormwood was a striking figure. His body was a mix of intertwining vines, lush leaves, and a core that glowed with the same emerald light as the gem. His appearance was both enchanting and mysterious, and he felt an innate connection to the land around him. Immediately upon gaining the gift of consciousness, Wormwood marveled at the vibrant world of Hamlet and the diverse creatures that inhabited it. Wormwood tried his absolute best to fit in, mimicking the fauna around him, and even trying to befriend them. Unfortunately, Wormwood was outcasted by the local fauna. Upset by these encounters, Wormwood returned to the stone where he was born and basked in the glow of his creator. But Wormwood's story was far from over. Wormwood is a very mysterious character, not only from their conception, but also from the fact that they somehow made their way into the mainland constant where most of our survivor friends are today. But the question is, what is the true nature of Wormwood, and what's the real reason that he is here? Well, in today's video, we are going to talk about a few theories that could answer these questions. First up, why is Wormwood even alive in the first place? Well, that's thanks to the moon. But if you play Don't Starve Together or watch any of my other videos, you know what the moon truly is. It's Alter, or them. In fact, creating Wormwood was the first thing Alter ever did in the constant, at least to our knowledge. But the question is, why? Well, to answer that, let's look at what Hamlet is. Of course, officially, we don't have a lot of lore when it comes to the world of Hamlet, but theoretically, the world of Hamlet is absolutely chock full of lore. So first, we know that the world of Hamlet is mostly native. What I mean by that is, while many of the mainland's residents were created by Maxwell or Charlie, Hamlet has barely any of these man-made creations. Instead, it is a product of evolution within the constant. The issue is, however, that even a paradise like Hamlet isn't immune to the effects of the Shadow Ruler. You see, when you spawn into the world of Hamlet, you are on a timer of 60 days. And once that timer is up, a very sinister event will start: the Apocalypse. Luckily, it can be stopped by the survivor if you find a hidden calendar. The Apocalypse essentially opens Hamlet to the Shadow World and unleashes all of its fury against its residents. So how exactly does this relate to Wormwood and Alter? Well, Alter's deep-seated opposition to the Shadows is evident. In the current balance of the constant, Alter represents the antithesis of Shadow, as lunar entities are essentially the polar opposite of Shadow entities. In fact, in the Lunar Grotto, which is an area in the mainland constant, under certain conditions, this opposition manifests in an active and fierce struggle between lunar beings and shadows. Clearly, Alter perceives shadows as a significant threat, significant enough to wage almost total war on them in our current time. So here's where we can start crafting some theories about why Alter may have created Wormwood, and we're going to start with the one that I personally believe, as a beacon to save and convert the world of Hamlet. Recognizing that Hamlet was one of the last bastions not yet overtaken by shadow magic, at least not as badly as the mainland, Alter may have created Wormwood with the specific purpose of averting the impending apocalypse. This idea is supported by the fact that when Wormwood first arrives, he is uniquely instructed by Maximilian to, and I quote, "Get moving, tree, chop, chop." A directive distinctly different from Maximilian's usual greeting to other characters, which is merely, "Nice 2-point landing," out of 10 that is. Could it be that Maximilian is relaying Alter's urgent message, pushing Wormwood into action to prevent the looming catastrophe and subsequent shadowification of Hamlet? Perhaps. And sure, they did need to give Maximilian a different starting line than the others for Wormwood, because he spawns in the jungle rather than at the crashed balloon. But still, the phrasing feels a little too coincidental, plus it kinda makes sense. Well, this would explain why our plant friend was in the world of Hamlet, but it doesn't explain why he has made his way into Don't Starve Together. Well, here's where things are going to get good, because I have come up with a theory that not only explains Wormwood's existence within Don't Starve Together, but also explains the entirety of the Lunar versus Shadow war that is currently being waged in the mainland constant. First, let's talk about Alter and Charlie. So it's no secret that Alter was relatively dormant and docile during what we know of the pre-Maxwell Throne era, the Maxwell Throne era, the Wilson Throne era, and the early Charlie Throne era. So something must have happened that caused Alter to wake up and wage war upon the mainland, right? Well, I think our culprit may be Charlie. It's not really a secret that Charlie is 1,000 times more competent as a shadow ruler than Maxwell ever was. And Charlie could have learned about Alter's existence, probably via the archives, and realized that her shadows and her weren't the only major players among the Constant. Charlie probably didn't like this one bit, and Charlie, paranoid that this strange Alter entity might attempt to destroy her vision of the Constant, would get the idea to strike first instead of waiting this potential war out. Thinking deeply, she very well could have remembered something she once saw while she had a full-time job as the Night Monster under Maxwell's reign. You see, being the Night Monster came with perks, and probably still does for Charlie. Most importantly, she is everywhere at all times, just as long as it is dark. Unfortunately, on the day that Wormwood was born, it was a full moon, which would have held Charlie off. But the very next day, she could have seen that there was a rather unusual creature, much unlike the other survivors of the Constant. Look, Charlie is smart. I'm sure she would put two and two together and figure out in some way that Wormwood is directly tied to Alter. Fearing that Wormwood was attempting to convert Hamlet into a sort of forward operating base for Alter to use to invade the mainland and extinguish the shadow threat once and for all, Charlie decided to take it upon herself to abduct Wormwood from the world of Hamlet and bring him to the mainland. This not only would cause Wormwood's connection to Alter to be weaker, prior to the war of course, but also allow Charlie to keep a close eye on Wormwood. Not to mention that she may have thought that introducing Wormwood to friends would keep him a little more docile. You may also be wondering why Charlie wouldn't just, cull Wormwood and be done with it. Well, death isn't actually canon for survivors within the Constant, so this would just result in Wormwood respawning. And I'm sure Charlie would know this because she had to witness Wilson's death over and over again as he attempted to take the throne from Maxwell. And so, on June 6, 2019, or whatever time equivalent that is in the Constant, Charlie abducted Wormwood, bringing him into the mainland Constant, foiling Alter's plans to stop the Shadows from taking over Hamlet and potentially converting it into Alter's forward operating base to wipe the new Shadow regime out of the Constant, and successfully severing Alter's ties to Wormwood. And things went well for the Shadow Queen after that. That is, until Alter struck back. On August 15th, 2019, or again, whatever time equivalent that is in the Constant, the Turn of Tides update was released. Alter had struck back. Now that Alter didn't have the world of Hamlet to use as a forward operating base, they needed a new one. And so Alter came up with the decision to drop a piece of itself down into the mainland Constant. Charlie, whether she liked it or not, was now at war. Funny enough, even the update name, which is Turn of Tides, suggests that this is a war, and suggests that the tides are turning. Which means Charlie had the upper hand and has just lost it. What was that upper hand, you might be wondering? Well, Wormwood. However, the story of Wormwood doesn't end here. Obviously, Alter has been vying for power for quite some time now within the Constant. Unfortunately for Alter, everyone is against them. Charlie obviously wants this threat eliminated from her realm as it is an existential threat to her and her Shadow Armada. Wagstaff wants to siphon the power that Alter exudes and use it for his own gain. And finally, the survivors, haunted by the abominations that Alter creates, whether purposefully or accidentally, also want them gone because of how difficult they can make their lives. For a while, this war was seemingly evenly matched, with no real advantages being made on either side. However, things eventually would change when Wormwood received his skill tree. Upon receiving his skill tree, it was clear that somehow Wormwood's ties to Alter had strengthened, due to Wormwood now being able to create lunar entities at will, as well as having lunar powers. This means Alter is slowly breaching Charlie's defenses and reclaiming their lost son. That leaves us where we are today. Wormwood, a lovable and lost plant man with two superpowers fighting over him. Will Alter ever fully build ties with Wormwood? Or will Charlie successfully ward off the celestial monstrosity? Only time will tell. But wait, remember how I said that wouldn't be the only theory of this video? Well, we're about to get into two more. Another one that I think could be correct, albeit not as correct and fun as this one, and one that could be correct but is very bizarre and over the top. Before we continue though, you should totally do me a favor and smash that like button, and of course subscribe if you aren't already. Also, if you're feeling super generous and are really enjoying the content, then channel memberships are available for just $5 a month. Alright, let's move on to theory 2. Alter has been playing 4D chess all along. So this theory starts a little differently. Alter still sends Wormwood to the world of Hamlet. There's obviously no changing that since that is confirmed lore. However, in this theory, Alter knew that Charlie was a serious threat. So Alter planted Wormwood in hopes of him being abducted by Charlie. The same events as the last theory would play out, except this time Alter is not mad when Wormwood is abducted. Instead, Alter is relieved. Relieved that their plan is working and in full motion. You see, perhaps maybe all this time Wormwood was merely pretending to be a lovable buffoon who's experiencing life for the first time, and perhaps maybe Wormwood is a hyper-intelligent being who spies on all of the survivors as well as the state of the continent and reports all of his findings directly to Alter. Well, why is there a war then? Well, maybe upon hearing Wormwood's first report of the mainland, Alter realized that the continent was still in a state of disarray. Alter took this as their time to strike, creating the Lunar Islands and beginning the war that we are stuck in today. And of course, what about Hamlet? Well, perhaps Alter just didn't care. It's not like Alter needed Hamlet to submit to them. I mean, look at how the war is going now. Alter is doing some pretty wicked stuff without having the world of Hamlet under their control. Perhaps maybe Wormwood was planted there on purpose to make Charlie nervous, make Charlie abduct Wormwood, and successfully plant their spy. For all we know, Wormwood could be watching and waiting for the time to activate and become the final boss of Don't Starve Together. Okay, that might be a little far-fetched, but still, this is another interesting theory, but I don't really think it's correct. Either way, it's still fun to think about. There is one more theory. Now, you're gonna have to bear with me because this theory sounds insane, but if you really start thinking about it, it actually could surprisingly start making some sense. I don't know how, but I can't really find a way to discredit this theory. That theory is that Wormwood is a weapon of mass destruction, built by Alter to completely remove the Shadow Throne. Okay, hear me out. The first part of this theory begins at Wormwood's birth. You see, Alter used a green gem to create Wormwood. However, wouldn't it make more sense for Alter to use an iridescent gem? You know, the ones that quite literally are connected to Alter? No, you see, Alter purposefully used a green gem. And while you may say, oh, Alter used a green gem because that symbolizes construction, much like the amulet. Well, that's true and may be right, but remember that all gems are completely magical within the constant. It's not just green gems capable of modifying life forms, as we can see with Klaus's deer. So what exactly are green gems used for? Well, if you combine one green gem, some nightmare fuel, and some Thulsite, you will get a construction amulet. And it makes sense for Wormwood to have a built-in special construction amulet that's attuned to Alter, as he can quite literally create life with Alter's help. However, what is Wormwood made of? That's right, living logs. What do living logs and green gems make? A deconstruction staff. If Wormwood is a living construction amulet, then by theory, Wormwood also must be a living deconstruction staff. Alter perhaps sent Wormwood to the world of Hamlet to grow, or again, be taken by Charlie back to the mainland. Unfortunately for Wormwood and Alter, Charlie has found a way to seal adventure mode off from the mainland. Otherwise, Wormwood's mission would be to defeat all 5 levels, and instead of taking the throne, literally deconstructing it, ending Charlie's reign and ending the entire Shadow faction for good, establishing a new lunar monarchy. Or perhaps, if we want to get even crazier, Wormwood could still be growing. Remember, Wormwood is very large compared to the average deconstruction staff. And if the deconstruction staff can break anything in the game, who knows what would happen if Alter managed to activate Wormwood? Perhaps maybe Wormwood's hidden goal wasn't the throne. Perhaps Alter is using Wormwood as a way to completely deconstruct the constant as an entirety. Why would Alter do this though? Funny enough, even this could be answered. Remember, Alter lied dormant during Maxwell, during Wilson, and back before Charlie started making serious plays. Charlie is a threat to stability within the constant. Alter may realize that a head-on war with Charlie will never result in victory, so instead, Wormwood was created as a failsafe. And all it takes is Alter establishing a full connection with Wormwood, and poof! Balance is obtained, by any means necessary. Call me crazy all you want, but you literally cannot disprove that last theory. It's over the top and outrageous, yes, but what isn't in the Don't Starve universe? I genuinely wouldn't even be surprised if this turned out true, although I obviously doubt it as Wormwood is a playable character. I'm still a firm believer in the first theory. Alter doesn't seem malicious or calculated, especially when compared to Charlie, so I could see this war as a Charlie-provoked one and not something Alter chose to do. Leave a comment about your own personal Wormwood theories, or if you agreed with any of mine, then tell me which one you believe is true. As for Wormwood, well, whatever happens to him, he will always be a lovable, carefree, poop-loving plant guy in my eyes. No matter if he turns out to be an innocent victim in this war, or he turns out to be the end of the constant as we know it for good.